good Halloween for the folks in the AI scene, and we got two new drops that came out. You'd only know about one of them if you were not on a wait list with OpenAI, but in this video I'm going to be walking you through my first impressions of the new Claude app, what it comes with. This is available on macOS as of earlier today from a post from the CPO and previous co-founder of Instagram, where he mentioned that it's out. And then the search feature for OpenAI. So what I've done here is this was the first suggestion on OpenAI. What happened was I opened up OpenAI and I get this nice little tooltip, the coach. And if I were to click on that, then it'll show me a couple of these options. You'll notice this is really reminiscent of Perplexity. And what I'm curious about here is how will Perplexity hold up over time? What is their secret sauce? If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I've talked a lot about how there's a great project called Morphic, and it basically rebuilt Perplexity and broke it down. And a lot of the magic is in the system of chaining together agents. So the way you can think about it is type something in here, and that's just a one-shot answer. Whereas Perplexity, you string together a few of the different agents, and without getting too nerdy on it, let me just see if I can't find a little something to show you. So if I type in writer in here, I should be able to find something in here. So you can see there's an issue or a document around the writer agent model. So he's chaining together, and how this plays into Perplexity is they're chaining together different agents that have different models that they can use and different prompts, and they're chained together. So when I type something in, like on ChatGPT, if I click Trump garbage truck, it went through, it selected the sources. Now, what I find weird is I couldn't really see for that long where the sources came from. And I think this is really important. They're trying to take up the most valuable resource on the internet. The most valuable, company is, or one of them is Google, and that's search. It's sorting your information. And Google has kind of dropped the ball. And I hate to say that on here because I'm on one of their platforms. I don't want them to hate on me. But if I type in Trump garbage truck, it looks like it's matching pretty closely. If we look at the top results, it's, Trump hits Wisconsin. It's this photo. This photo could be from a different source, but it's Associated Press News, New York Post, and the Australian. Regardless of your politics, it's good to know the sources because there's different leanings, especially for something. I find it really interesting that they made this the one, and I think it's perfect. But you can see all these sources, and if I compare that, or if I type in Trump garbage truck, then I can see it's pretty similar. And I recently made a post as soon as I got this email, because I'm waiting for someone on a call, where you kind of compare the two. And you can see they're very similar. It looks like Perplexity is more focused on kind of giving this one paragraph summary, and all that's programmatically set, obviously. And then the key details of the event. So it knows it's an event, has the context of that, and then it kind of breaks it down, has reactions. So looking at them side by side, it's going to be interesting to see how Perplexity continues to innovate. I think if you just looked at this example, you would probably say that Perplexity is doing a better job. But it's tough because I don't think they have a foundational model. They don't have the secret sauce underneath it that's actually powering all this. So let's try another one. I'm going to use web search, and I'm going to try something a little less political. So let's just ask, what is the weather forecast in West Palm Beach over the next 14 days? And is there a hurricane coming? So let's take that query. And, oh, cool. It looks like it's split it. And I've got two. Now I've got two. And I can see that this is cut off at the bottom, so let me adjust that. You can see that I got two. And I can select which one I want. There's these tags, these badges, where I can see the source of that information. Oh, sorry, I'm still dictating. If you curious what that is, it's just a built-in macOS dictator. And then I can say, well, weather should be pretty objective. It's a number. You can stick to it. There's no variety here, except one is without a nested breadcrumb, and one is with, but really the same thing. So I'll just say I prefer that. And now let's drag this up. And it says I prefer that. Now let's see if we just move perplexity down here. And we paste in a new query. We say that. Oh, cool. So they actually give this a little something more. More dynamic. Pretty cool looking. Doesn't say anything about a hurricane. Interesting. So let's dig in deeper. We can check. So typically I know that this is not where you would go to find a hurricane. So for a natural disaster, you'd probably want to know that there's these two things out here. So let's compare that against Google. I mean, that's just night and day, right? So it's becoming pretty clear that the agentic search is going to be very helpful. Now, what it didn't do is it didn't tell me anything about the actual hurricane, which is not great. And if I went in and digged around here, you'd know that there's something brewing. So that's the first one. That's search. And my takeaway from it is it's going to apply a significant amount of pressure to Perplexity, and consumers ultimately benefit from this. So if you look at the Perplexity documentation, if you're a developer, you can skip ahead if you're not a developer, but it just kind of shows you this is pretty barren. You have chat completions. You can have it go out and return all that stuff that you just saw, and they suggest that you use Llama, but there's not a ton to it. So that's the first one. The second one, we can go ahead and look at the Anthropic Claude blog, and let's open up. Nope, that's not it. Artifacts are now generally available. We should be able to get to the news. I don't see anything in here, which is kind of weird. But yeah, they came out with a Mac app. And why that's helpful is if you're a Mac user, you'd know that it's kind of annoying trying to use Claude with a saved Safari app. And what I also think is interesting is we're kind of in this battle between the bars, the floating command palettes, where you have Claude, which this is what it looks like. So I have a set to key binding of Shift Command Left bracket for Perplexity, and then Shift Command Right bracket for Claude. And I can just start typing in there. They do denote that it is in beta, and it just does what you'd think. So it's not going to do very well with web, but this is what the application looks like. And by default, it has a different binding, but you can change that by going into settings. If you click Command, comma, and then you can clear that. So we know that web stuff isn't great for this. What's nice about it is it seems pretty good. What I've noticed with the ChatGPT app is it actually is much worse than the web experience. So again, this has only been out for a few hours, but having really the only benefit I do see is that it's dedicated and that you have the hotkey. So when I hit that hotkey and it's already focused, it just refreshed the page. But I think it'll be nice to have this as its own application. I hope to see a little bit more out of it. I hope that it doesn't lag a ton, but it does have all the normal stuff that you would expect. You have your projects and all that. Let's see if there's anything that we can dig into about their announcements. So it looks like you can dictate messages to Claude on the iPhone now. Great. I thought that it was already out. It looks like Claude's now available on the Copilot. That's great for Copilot. I'm seeing a lot of stuff about that. I'm going to test that soon. And people are asking, what are the benefits of using this? It's significantly easier to access. Okay. Computer use. The app doesn't support it yet. Right. Voice mode. Okay. Won't take more RAM. It is an Electron app. Interesting. I didn't catch that. So what that means is I should be able to inspect the elements. Typically on an Electron app, if, like, for instance, if I open Notion Calendar, which I know is an Electron app, then, and this is like a dummy calendar. This is what I do every day. I grind. But I can do Command-Shift-I, and then I can actually see what's going on underneath the hood. So I can see all the network calls. So, like, if I refresh, this is what you would expect to see from a normal website because it's an Electron app. But it seems like they disabled that. So if I do Command-Shift-I, I can't actually inspect what's going on, which is probably on purpose. They don't want you to be able to snoop around and see how they're sending network calls. Maybe there's things in there they want people not to see, but that wouldn't make sense because I can just do that in a browser. So that's all for now. If you are interested in this AI stuff, this is an emergency video. I wanted to get this out since it came out just a few hours ago. But every single week where I break down all the things that I'm learning as I build my SaaS, and I'm doing it in public, and I walk through pretty much, I'll probably talk about this again tomorrow in more detail, but there are dozens of these findings that I come across each week. And the issue is, for you, the viewer, there's so much just bad content out there. So instead of making a lot of small videos about, here's this little tiny thing, I will be from now on making higher quality, longer form videos where when you see the Parker X show and a new episode comes out every single Friday, that you need to tune in if you want to know what's going on with AI, what's going on with development tooling, because it moves very quickly. I would dare to say that I know more about this than most because I spend upwards of 16 hours a day working on this, whether it is for my SaaS product or doing consulting work to fund the SaaS product. And I learn a ton of stuff. And as I go, I'm filtering out the bad stuff. Thanks again for watching. Go crush your goals.